everyone, and welcome back. Today is Supernatural Monday, and we're going to be talking about Amelia Earhart. I'm trying to go real fast through this intro before I get interrupted for the third time. So, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I did tell you guys it was about Amelia Earhart. I don't know much about this case other than, she went missing flying an airplane. Let's see what
the enduring mystery behind the disappearance of famed pilot Amelia Earhart. This one has been the topic of wide speculation for about 80 years now. There's a lot of interesting theories out there.
I don't know any of them.
This seems cut and dry, but
yeah.
No, there's more to it.
There may be more than meets the eye.
Ooh, I'm with them. Ooh.
All right. Shall we just get into it then?
Yes.
On July 2nd, 1937, Amelia Earhart, the first woman to cross the Atlantic and one of the most famous women in the world, disappeared along with her navigator friend Noonan while attempting to circumnavigate the globe at the equator. Before we get into the incident, let's quickly provide some context into how accomplished Earhart truly was.
She was extremely accomplished. I don't know much about her, but I do know that she was an extremely accomplished woman who, if I'm not mistaken, was the first woman to ever be a pilot, or at least be renowned as a pilot. So very accomplished, and I'm very excited to see what happened that in 1937.
Babe of the Sky.
Oh, is that what they called her?
The Babe of the Sky? Oh, I love that.
Babe of the Sky. Yeah, that goes Amelia Earhart, Babe of the Sky.
Amelia Earhart.
I don't think they would have said that.
July 24th, 1897, in Atchison, Kansas. In 1928, Earhart became the first woman to cross the Atlantic.
First woman to cross the Atlantic.
In a plane with two other pilots. However, on May 20th to the 21st of 1932, Earhart would make the trip again, this time alone, flying from Newfoundland to Ireland for about 15 hours. She was the second person to ever complete this flight. During this trip, she demonstrated her resourcefulness in times of peril, as her plane suffered a leak in the fuel tank, ice on the wings, and a cracked manifold, which caused the engine to spew flames at one point. Yet, she still completed the flight on August 24th, 19...
Talk about perseverance and determination. Go Amelia Earhart.
In 1932, Earhart flew from LA to Newark, setting a record at that time for longest distance flown without refueling.
Wow.
She also became the first female pilot to complete a non-stop transcontinental flight.
She's got some salt in the game.
Oh yeah, she's a
Michael
lot.
Jordan of flying.
Well,
yeah.
Michael Jordan never disappeared on a basketball court for
Fair.
Well, I meant in terms of accomplishments. Michael Jordan never went up for a dunk and then just disappeared. Like, whoa, where'd he go? Where'd he go? This takes us to 1937. When Earhart set her sights on circling the globe, zigzagging along the equator, requiring long hauls over water. If successful, she would have been the first female pilot to fly around the world. Her journey would have taken her about 29,000 miles over roughly 40 days, starting and ending in California, and would have included 20 stops, including San Juan, Calcutta, and Bangkok.
Hope she's bringing some chewy bars.
Yeah, really.
One time, I wanted to fly to Asia, and I felt like I wanted to die.
How long was it?
It was like 19 hours.
And this was 40 days?
Yeah, this was 40 days.
That's a month.
Yeah.
That's more than a month.
One thing from, like, eating popcorn. My favorite thing to do in the world. Imagine sitting in a chair and all you did was eat popcorn. Okay, that sounds pretty good. That's pretty good, actually. That's a bad example. Earhart flew in a twin-engine Lockheed 10 Electra, a 10-passenger high-performance airliner, specifically outfitted with special tanks that allowed it to carry over 1,000 pounds of fuel rather than the usual 200.
So when they built this one, they specifically said, let's make a plane that won't catch on fire.
I mean, that's
fair.
the goal with every plane.
It seems like they're not doing it great.
Okay, so I live in North Carolina, and the Wright brothers is a big thing, and I don't think that when the Wright brothers were making their first plane, I don't think they expected it to catch on fire, so I would assume that the goal is not to catch on fire, but I could be wrong.
great job at that.
I'm just saying, do you imagine there's someone who's like, oh, it would be funny if this plane caught on fire halfway through?
Could be. There's some sickos out there. If there's some misogynist pieces of shit on there, on that team, he's screwing the little bolts on, and they're like, you know what they're gonna use this for? No. Well, they're that babe of the sky. She's gonna fly around the globe. Oh, is that so? Is that what she thinks she's gonna do? Oopsie. Oops. There goes a screw.
I hope that's not what happened.
Sky belongs to men.
I'm sure that's what they thought in 1937 or before that. I'm pretty sure that's what they thought. I hope that's not what happened. I hope there wasn't an oopsie.
On May 21st, Earhart and her navigator Noonan started their journey.
At least she wasn't
California
alone.
On the morning of July 2nd, 1937, 42 days into their journey, Earhart and Noonan prepared to leave Lae, New Guinea. Leaving Lae, the Electro was carrying the most fuel it had on this expedition, about 1,000 pounds worth. They were already roughly 22,000 miles into the trip, and had about another 7,000 to go before returning to California. She planned to stop 2,556 miles away on Howland Island to refuel. It was about an 18-hour flight. Harry Balfour, the radio operator for Guinea Airways in Lae, set up a schedule for he and Earhart to send transmissions to each other once every hour. Soon after Earhart's plane took off, Balfour noted that the headwinds were stronger than anybody had thought. He sent transmissions of this information to Earhart 3 times over the course of 2 hours. However,
good on him.
Earhart did not seem to get these transmissions. Headwind speed could affect plane speed, gas consumption, and length of flight. Around 2:18 p.m., Earhart's transmissions, which had been blocked earlier, were finally received by Balfour in Lae. She gave her speed, 140 knots, and altitude, 7,000 feet, and things seemed to be okay. A little over an hour later, her next transmission stated that she had climbed to 10,000 feet. This may have been uneconomical in terms of fuel usage. It's unclear why Earhart made this climb, but author Elgin Long, a veteran pilot, guesses it may have been to avoid clouds or mountains.
Yeah.
You think she just went vert? Just like...
I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe there was something she had to avoid that was coming out of her.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's
a preview of what's to come.
Maybe. You never know.
I swear, if
This
someone says
transmission
aliens
also
in
seemed
this
to
one
be
again,
delayed,
we're gonna have
they were still
issues.
on course, and it's believed that the experienced pilot Earhart would have realized the problem with the headwinds by this point. As they neared Howland Island, the plane was likely down to a last 97-gallon tank of fuel. The Coast Guard's Itasca, a 250-foot boat.
They're saying the speed and how many gallons are left. I know nothing about planes and piloting, so I don't know if that's good or bad. This is a really hard one for me to understand what could be happening. But with my little knowledge, we're gonna try and figure this out together.
Off the coast,
I know nothing about planes or piloting.
Communications and weather.
Never
Earhart
even been
upon
on a
her
plane.
arrival to the island. It is thought that Earhart's plane must have gotten fairly close to the island because the Itasca did hear her transmissions, which grew stronger as sunrise came and went. In fact, they thought Earhart was close enough that the radio operator on board the Itasca went outside to look for her plane. In one of her last transmissions, Earhart told the Itasca, quote, "We must be on you, but cannot see you," end quote. She radioed, quote, "Gas is running low," end quote. Earhart's last transmission at 8:43 a.m. was, quote, "We are on the line 157, 337. We will repeat message. We will repeat this on 6,210 kilocycles. Wait," end quote.
So, it looks like she kind of, she made it past, but didn't realize she made it past, therefore missing the island, and maybe she ran out of fuel, and that was it.
While there are conflicting reports, the transmission may have also included, quote, "We are running north and south," end quote. In her final transmissions, Earhart's voice was described as, quote, "frantic," end quote.
Did Fred chime in during any of these?
Not really. I think Fred was too busy white-knuckling it on the passenger seat.
This is bad. This is bad. My wife told me not to do this.
After that, Earhart was never officially heard from again. When Earhart's plane never arrived, the Itasca searched the waters northwest of Howland Island. On July 7th, 5 days later, the U.S. battleship Colorado began to search the waters to the southeast. An aircraft carrier, the Lexington, arrived soon after from its base in San Diego and stayed searching
So
the
the
region
waters
until
were
July 18th. To this day,
so the waters were searched very thoroughly.
neither
They had 3
Earhart,
different
Noonan,
places
or their plane
for
were
ships.
ever found. But that hasn't stopped the world from speculating about what happened. Let's go over
Yes,
the
let's hear
theories.
some of these
The
theories.
first theory is perhaps the most widely accepted theory, that
Okay.
Earhart's plane ran out of gas.
Yeah, that's
She
what I
and
was
Noonan
thinking.
died when they crashed into the ocean northwest of their destination. Although skeptics have pointed out that an Electra with that amount of fuel should have lasted 24 hours in flight rather than 20, as Earhart's plane did.
Oh.
Analysis by the Jet Propulsion Center at Caltech
Yeah, but didn't she, like... Yeah, the headwinds and the 10,000 foot climb, wouldn't it have, like, caused that to go lower?
concluded that with the headwinds and the 10,000 foot climb Earhart was forced to take early in the flight, her plane would have been out of fuel when she disappeared.
Yeah, that's what
Howland
I was
Island,
thinking, because...
the ocean is about 18,000 feet deep. From 2002 until March 2017, a company called Nauticos teamed up with other groups to search a nearly 2,000 square nautical mile area of the Pacific Ocean floor,
Jesus.
where Earhart's Electra may have sunk. They used sonar mapping to search the seafloor, but have not found evidence of the aircraft.
Open and shut. I don't get this.
Interesting.
It's all there.
Is this going to be your Occam's razor thing?
So, so she did run out of fuel. It would have gone into the ocean. But there's nothing to show of it. To be fair, in 2002, that was very long after she supposedly disappeared. But you can still see, like, shipwrecks like the Titanic. So I would assume you could still see a plane. Interesting.
That you always cite.
I think perhaps they slammed into the ocean and sank to the bottom of the sea.
They're going to comb that ocean, baby.
Yeah.
They do.
No one can comb the ocean.
They're
You
gonna-
can't drag the ocean.
They're going to comb the shit out of it.
No, the ocean.
Actually, there is a show on Disney Plus called Drain the Ocean. For me being me, I'm in the middle of watching the show, but basically what they do is they use sonar technology to scan the ocean, and through that they can, like it says, drain the ocean, take away the water, and you can see what's underneath the water. So you can't actually do that, but I don't know if they ever searched or did an episode, because I haven't finished the series, so I don't know if they did an episode on Amelia Earhart.
No.
That ocean's going to have nicely groomed hair. The second theory is that Earhart became a castaway on Gardner Island, now called Nakumaroro, roughly 350 nautical miles south of Howland Island. Nakumaroro is along the 157-337 line Earhart last reported flying along. As her plane lost fuel, it is thought she spotted the coral atoll of Nakumaroro that at low tide could have worked as an emergency landing strip. Roughly
Okay.
2 to 3 years later, in 1939 or 1940, a British colonial officer named Gerald Gallagher found the remains of a campsite on the island, along with a box for a sextant, a tool used to determine latitude and longitude via celestial bodies.
Okay.
I think that's interesting. I do think it would be interesting if they did end up on an island.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would make it so much better.
Which still is in
I would
line
love
with
that.
your, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Your calculate.
Maybe not. I mean, dying in the watery depths or being stranded on an island and dying of starvation and lack of nutrition. I don't know which way I'd go. I don't want either.
They could have landed.
Yeah, they could have. She was an expert aviator.
She was.
Yeah, she could have landed. Did they check that back in 1937? Did they check the random island?
And she was good at problem solving under pressure.
She flew a fire plane.
Yeah, she flew.
However, the most provocative thing discovered on the island by Gallagher was a partial human skeleton, as well as 12 other bones. The bones were analyzed.
Partial human skeleton, and then 12 other bones. Where are the other bones? Especially to the human skeleton. Like, they wouldn't just go away. Now, I could see maybe at high tide, but I don't know.
By a physician named D.W. Hoodless, who was working in a medical school in Fiji. but Hoodless determined that the bones belonged to a man who was short, stocky, and of European descent, and could not be Earhart or Noonan. Unfortunately, after this conclusion, Hoodless discarded the bones, thereby preventing anyone from DNA analyzing them in the future.
What? They found bones, they tested it, they looked to see what kind of bones they were, and then you burn them? What the heck kind of stupid person do you have to be to destroy and burn bones like that? What the heck?
This guy may have jumped to conclusions a little bit, and maybe, just maybe
a little bit,
throwing out the fucking bones.
He threw out the bones?
I just said that. He said, it ain't them, trash them.
What?
That's him.
These bones don't belong to anybody.
Who does that? Seriously?
Put them back in the ocean.
Yeah, this guy wanted to go home.
Please tell me his,
Who's throwing the bones out?
What scientist does it?
Please tell me he got fired after this, because really?
I feel like
what scientist does that?
Crime cases that you do are plagued with people who don't want to do their jobs.
And they're not thorough.
Yeah. Half the reason half of these cases are unsolved.
Exactly.
Because people got evidence and were like, too much work, burn it.
Pretty much. And that's why I want to go into the field that I'm wanting to go into, to prevent this.
However, the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, aka TIGAR, used Hoodless's original measurements of the bones and today's updated databases to determine the bones could have also belonged to a taller than average woman of European descent. And Earhart was said to be 5'7" or 5'8".
That's like
AKA taller than the average woman of European descent.
I'm 5'10", by the way.
I'm 5'2".
No, there's no quotes there.
Well, when you wear your special shoes.
No, that's from the doctor.
Yes, your shoes are from the doctor.
No, they're not.
Yes, they
I'm
are.
5'10", damn it. According to TIGAR director Rick Gillespie, the reason for there being only partial bones on the island was because of the coconut crabs that live there. He suggests the coconut crabs carried the bones off into burrows, and that they may have eaten her. Coconut crabs grow up to 3 feet long, can break open coconuts with their pincers, and are the largest arthropods living on land.
I hope that's not what happened to her. I hope that's not what happened. But that would explain the bones being missing, like he said.
Majestic.
They're kind of
These aren't.
Anytime you think something's majestic, just imagine it was like 10 times bigger.
Or if it was the last thing you saw before you died.
Yeah, if it was like this big, I'd be like, oh, heck no.
TIGAR director Rick Gillespie has also said that a photo taken in 1937 by a British expedition to Nikumaroro shows what he believes to be landing gear from a plane sticking up out of the water.
Oh.
He also believes that Earhart would have used her plane's radio to signal for help for up to a week following the crash, but that if the radio had been in water, it would not work. Interestingly, according to Gillespie, several possible radio transmissions from Earhart were heard throughout the week.
I mean, Amelia Earhart seems to be a very, very resourceful person. So I feel like anything she could to, call for help, radio for help, anything like that she would have done.
A week after her disappearance, all of which coincided with the low tide on that island, a time when the plane radio was perhaps not underwater and possibly functional. A teenager named Betty Clank claims that via her shortwave radio, she heard a female voice saying, quote, "This is Amelia Earhart. Help me," end quote. And also heard the female voice arguing with a disoriented male's voice. She also claimed to hear, quote, "Water's knee deep. Let me out," end quote.
Well,
a little on the nose there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if your radio's malfunctioning, you want to get straight to the point. You're not going to say, the story
that's fair.
Let me spin you a yarn that you shan't soon forget. I'm being eaten alive by crabs right now.
Clank listened to the voice coming in clips for 3 hours and recorded what she heard in a notebook. Clank's father reported his daughter's findings to the Coast Guard, who did not seem to take the claim seriously, as there were reports of dozens of messages supposedly from Earhart.
Well, okay. She's using a radio that can be transmitted to any part of the world. Or at least I would assume that's why you could transmit radios from this place to this place and that place. It would make sense that her messages would go to random spots all over the world. Because she has a radio that transmits all over the world.
Earhart heard in all parts of the world in the days after her disappearance. In
Take
1991,
it seriously.
Buzzfeed found a partial rubber shoe sole on the island, stamped with the words Cat's Paw Rubber Company USA. The sole was from the same type of shoe Earhart is seen wearing in a photograph taken in Indonesia shortly before her disappearance. Though, the sole belongs to a size 9 shoe, which would have been too big for Earhart.
What the fuck?
What?
Man, come on.
How would you even know that? Like... Okay. Like, how would you even know that? I barely know my own shoe size, let alone someone else knowing it. What?
I just gotcha.
It's stupid.
For a second, I saw you perk up.
Yeah.
Gillespie also found a roughly 19-inch by 23-inch piece of riveted aircraft aluminum on Nuku'alofa. Tygar believes it to be from Earhart's Electra, specifically from a shiny patch near the tail. Though Elgin Long, the first...
If you can look at a plane part and just tell me exactly where that plane part goes on a plane, and what plane? Okay. You got better knowledge than me.
Aviator to fly around the globe over both poles, and an Earhart researcher/author says the piece in question is definitively not from Earhart's plane. Other experts, including a Lockheed employee who had worked on Earhart's plane,
wouldn't be able to tell you.
The same, according to Long. Further damning to the theory that Earhart was marooned on this island was the fact that Navy planes flew over the island Nuku'alofa on July 9th, 1 week after Earhart's disappearance, and saw nothing.
Personally, I love the island theory. I would love it to be true.
1 week after her disappearance? Yeah, I guess she could be on the island. I mean, that or maybe within that week she was like out. Maybe she was taking a shower. You never know. She was in the ocean taking a shower, maybe.
I think you just like her getting eaten by crabs.
I love the thought of someone getting eaten by
No.
There it is. I like how you tried to sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
And I went immediately to the core of what I knew you would find interesting.
There's just something truly gross about it. And horrifying.
No.
The third theory, championed by Roland C. Rainick, a retired U.S. Air Force colonel, is that Earhart was in cahoots with the U.S. government and was indeed a spy. Rainick
Why is everything like... Everything's got to be... Oh, they were attached to the government. They were attached to aliens. They were attached to the Illuminati. Why is everything like... Not... She could have just been a normal, everyday 20, 30, 40, whatever, how old she was, woman who just got lost somewhere. Like...
posits that Earhart had a plan B, where if she couldn't find Howland Island, she was to ditch her plane near the Marshall Islands, which are only 800 miles away from Howland.
I could see her having a plan B, you know, ditch her plane over by Marshall Islands if she can't.
Howland Island.
I don't know if that hasn't...
That way, the
Yeah,
U.S. government would be able to perform reconnaissance in the Marshall Islands, which were at the time occupied by Japan, under the...
What? What? Why? Okay, it's fine. It's Japan. I could see her having a plan B to go to the Marshall Islands. I don't think... I could be wrong, and maybe this is all about the government spies, but I don't think she would have gone to the Marshall Islands and so that way the government could do reconnaissance on Japan. I think she may have had a plan B to go to the Marshall Islands, but I doubt the rest of that.
The guise of searching for Earhart. Corroborating this notion are Marshallese locals who for decades have said they witnessed Earhart's plane crash on their island. However,
Yeah, and I
plan
can
went
see
awry
that.
when the Japanese intercepted Earhart and Noonan and captured them, releasing them years later after the war.
See, I can see that. I understand, especially in this time, the Japanese weren't too good. But I doubt it was for government. For the government. I don't think they had, like I said, I think she might, if any of this true, I think she might have gone to the Marshall Islands as a plan B, and then the Japanese just figured it out, captured him, like it's saying, and released them years later.
Earhart and Noonan returned to live out their lives in the United States under assumed names. Some believe Amelia Earhart moved to New Jersey and changed her name to Irene Craigmille, though she married and became Irene Bolam. Though this
I can kind of see that.
Probable, at least to the thought that Earhart is actually Irene Bolam, since Bolam sued the publisher of a book that shared this speculation. Also, according to...
I mean, why would you... If I was Amelia Earhart and changed my name and someone came out and was like, yo, the person under this name is Amelia Earhart, I'd be suing him because I'd be like, yo, that ain't me. I died.
In the Tiger, the resemblance is not that strong, and comparing photos of Earhart to photos of Bolam taken 4 decades apart proved nothing. Regardless,
I don't know.
Irene Bolam passed away in 1982.
This is dumb. It's pretty dumb. Can you imagine if someone just accused you of being Amelia Earhart? You're her. I know you are.
I mean, that would... hey, if someone accused me of being a famous, person like Amelia Earhart and claimed that I had done all this stuff, I would obviously tell him it's not me, but I would be like, yo, that kind of makes me feel good. You have more faith in me than I do.
Yeah. I'm going to tell the world.
I do love the idea that the government tells her, land in this area so we can do the little reconnaissance. Another version of this theory is that after being captured in the Marshall Islands, Earhart and Noonan were eventually executed. An Army sergeant by the name of Thomas E.
Again, I can see that she went to the Marshall Islands because she was running low, and she ended up getting captured and executed.
Devine
that makes sense.
That in July 1944, he met a group of U.S. Marines guarding a hangar containing Earhart's Electra on the formerly Japanese-settled island of Saipan, which had recently been liberated. Devine also claims the soldiers destroyed the plane. Furthermore, a photo believed to show an obscured Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan on a dock in the Marshall Islands was found in the National Archives by a retired...
What? Okay, Noonan, you can kind of see. But I mean, Earhart her back is facing the camera. What?
Government investigator named Les Kinney.
It sounds like he's very accomplished and distinguished and probably knows what he's talking about. That photo looks like shit. So I don't care what he thinks of it. He might as well be looking at like a Rorschach blot, being like, "That's your mother." I don't care what he thinks. The expert is only as good as the material he has in front of him.
The photo was analyzed by various experts who were optimistic that it was indeed the missing aviators. Unfortunately, this photo was promptly and apparently debunked when 2 bloggers found the photo in a Japanese book published in 1935.
2 years
before Earhart even disappeared.
Yeah.
So this photo might as well have been taken in front of the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yeah, really.
It's like, hey, here's a lady who looks like Amelia Earhart.
That's what I was confused about, because I was like, her back is towards us. Noonan, I mean, I guess if you looked really hard, maybe, but you couldn't tell if that was Earhart or not.
Idaho, in 1946.
Photo aside, skeptics have pointed out that Earhart, given her fuel situation, would not have made it to the Marshall Islands regardless.
Oh, okay.
Among those skeptics are Elgin Long, a former pilot, and Fred Patterson, a pilot for World Airways, an expert on Electras.
So you're wasting my time. You're wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, all I'm saying is it's not impossible that they overshot the island, went down, and then wherever they landed, even if it wasn't on the Marshall Islands, they got picked up by some freight boat, or they floated close enough that they got picked up by a freight boat. That does not seem crazy to me.
Sounds like a fairy tale to me.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that I like this theory quite a bit.
All right. I'm glad you like it.
Which brings us to our fourth and final theory, that Earhart may have made contact with alien life forms.
Oh my god.
Accident or knowingly and in collusion with the U.S. government.
Oh my
I don't
god.
even talk about it.
Why?
Yeah, I'm with
Is
Shane.
it completely impossible that it happened?
No, because I actually do, look, aliens are a lot more probable than ghosts.
Admittedly, this alien theory is a bit tinfoil hat, but an episode of Star Trek Voyager from 1995 capitalized on the idea. So that's kind of cool.
Okay.
I just love that every time I ask you, can you definitively say no? What's the answer? Can you definitively?
We don't need to get into
No,
that.
what do you say? Answer the question.
It's crabs. It's crabs.
Definitively,
it's
can you
crabs.
say that aliens did not have a part in the abduction of Amelia Earhart?
No, I can't.
There
I
you
can
go.
almost
In the end,
guarantee
many
you
believe
they
that
didn't.
Earhart simply crashed and died on impact. But still, there's no way of telling if any of these alternate theories may have transpired until a plane or body is discovered. The case of Amelia Earhart will likely remain unsolved.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack in that one. I think it's probable that she did get captured. Well, no, let me rephrase that. What could have happened is she ran out of fuel. I do think she did run out of fuel. Maybe she overshot the island that she was supposed to be going to. Again, very probable. What could have happened maybe after? This is what I think based off of what I just saw. Most likely scenario based off of those 4 theories. Okay, 3 theories. Let's exclude the alien theory. Anyway, I feel like she ran out of fuel because of the going up to the 10,000 whatever. Probably ran out of fuel but overshot that island because she couldn't see it. Maybe got picked up because it looked like that island and the Marshall Islands were pretty close to each other. So I wonder if maybe some Japanese soldiers or the Japanese Navy maybe found her and picked her up and was like, yo, this is Earhart and Newton. Let's bring them back. And they brought him back and maybe killed him. Maybe they're living a double life here in the United States. I don't know. Honestly, this one's a lot harder to understand because I don't know anything about pilots or piloting or planes or really anything of that nature. So it's hard for me to understand what went down. So, yeah. But let me know what you guys' theories are in the comments below. And as always, have a great and wonderful